You are eager to move and feel like an athlete again, but you're afraid to because you've been given misinformation, outdated recommendations, flat out lies, all the things that we like to call the nope.
In this series, we will debunk the nope, transform it into hope, allowing you to reclaim your birthright of healthy and athletic.
Don't forget to subscribe and share so that you and your friends are not missing out on any of this content. We want you to become a lifelong athlete. Let's get to it. Hey Brandy, what's today's nope?
Oh, hey Dylan, I'm getting ready for the gym. I got my pickle juice. I got all my salts. And don't forget the bananas to help prevent exercise-associated muscle cramps.
Earning my doctorate in physical therapy and board specialty in sports, my mentors planted many seeds in me to critically analyze my biases and ask questions. That led me to asking these following questions. How long does it take to digest pickle juice? How do electrolytes actually get to a cramping muscle to then alleviate that muscle cramp? Are there other reasons that we have muscle cramps while exercising that are not related to pickle juice, bananas, electrolytes, or hydration? A quick search on the topic brought up many pieces citing that electrolytes and hydration and salts were the remedy to muscle cramps. However, these opinion pieces never differentiated between exercise-associated muscle cramps, nocturnal muscle cramping, and widespread cramping that could be caused secondary due to an illness. When we look specifically at exercise-associated muscle cramping, we start to ask these questions of what actually causes it and how do we prevent it? A clever researcher comes into the picture named Martin Schwellnus. He answers these questions, and he shows us that these remedies may work for exercise-associated muscle cramping, but not for the reasons that you've been taught. Schwellnus conducted two different systematic reviews, one in 2009 and one in 2021, to analyze the dehydration theory and electrolyte imbalance theory of exercise-associated muscle cramping. To understand where we're going, we have to point out, where do these beliefs originate? Schwellnus found that for over 100 years, the data supporting electrolyte imbalance and dehydration came from observation, speculation, and studies with flawed methodology. When he completed the review, he wasn't able to find one single published scientific study indicating that dehydration created muscle cramps while exercising. Conversely, he found 4 prospective cohort studies that showed dehydration is not associated with muscle cramps from exercise. Specifically, dehydrated athletes did not have more cramping compared to a well-hydrated control group of athletes. So if dehydration is not the cause of exercise-associated muscle cramping, then it must be electrolytes. After all, the global electrolyte sport drink market is valued at $32 million in 2020 and is going to keep getting bigger and bigger, and athletes are marketing this and saying, yes, I need electrolytes, it prevents the muscle cramps. But what does the research say? Similar to the dehydration theory, Schwellnus was not able to find a single study showing that serum electrolyte concentration abnormalities were different in athletes that had cramps versus a control group that did not have exercise-associated muscle cramps. He did find 4 studies from 2 different labs in 2 different endurance sports that showed no relationship between serum electrolyte abnormalities and exercise-associated muscle cramping, debunking yet another biased and long-held belief. Furthermore, the physiology of digestion and delivery of electrolytes shown that it's not plausible that a cramp could be alleviated within 1 to 2 minutes or instantly from pickle juice or a banana for that matter. Research in the Journal of Athletic Training set out to find this a little bit more. They looked at the plasma level concentrations and gastric emptying after they ingested pickle juice, and they concluded, the data supports our theory that pickle juice does not relieve cramps via metabolic mechanism. Which brings us to the discussion question. Well, then what causes exercise-associated muscle cramps? The research shows the true cause of this is not dehydration, not electrolyte imbalances, but rather an altered nervous system highlighted by heightened activity of muscle spindles and decreased activity of the Golgi tendon organ, the GTO, which in turn causes the alpha motor neuron to tell the muscle to keep contracting, boom, giving us the muscle cramp. Both muscle spindles and GTOs, they're small sensory organs of the nervous system. They provide feedback about the state of our muscles and our tendons. Muscle spindles are located in every skeletal muscle, and they play a role in reporting the speed and length of a muscular contraction. It then serves to protect by lengthening a muscle by sending signals that influence the muscle to contract. The GTOs, they live near the tendons. They provide sensory evidence on lengthening and speed of contraction, but instead of sending a signal to contract or influence contracting of a muscle, they send signaling to influence muscular relaxation. The altered neuromuscular theory is supported in the literature, and also provides an explanation as to why passive stretching is the best technique to alleviate an exercise-associated muscle cramp, because we're activating these GTOs to influence relaxation of the muscle and telling the overexcited muscle spindles to change the alpha motor neuron output. Which then leads to the most important question: can we prevent exercise-associated muscle cramping? The answer is yes, they can be prevented. And in summary, when we specifically look at exercise-associated muscle cramping, the way to prevent that is not necessarily through hydration or electrolytes. There's other benefits to being hydrated and making sure you have electrolytes. But for exercise-associated muscle cramping, this is not the cause or the way to prevent them. Instead, we have to take a look at your training program. We have to make sure that your nervous system is being loaded in a way that it's going to be asked to perform at when it comes competition time. We have to take a hard look at that training program, making sure we're using progressive overload and getting the muscles and the nervous system ready. To paint an example of what this will look like, let's head outside and we'll use the sport of basketball as our case example. Well, a lot of basketball programs look like this, just shooting around. If we want to prevent exercise-associated muscle cramps in the game of basketball, we have to start looking at the sports science in this game. Research has found that basketball players on average will run 2.8 to 3.1 miles in one game. Brayden's going to start running to start preparing for the demands of the sport that she's going to be playing. In that 2.8 to 3.1 miles, she's not going to be running the same speed the entire time. There's parts of the game that she's going to have to sprint, parts of the game that she's going to have to slow down. So we're going to see in the program, sprint, slow down. Go ahead, come back, sprint, slow down. Another part interesting with basketball is every 2 to 6 seconds, that athlete is going to have to change direction at different speeds. So we're going to start adding in, can we actually change the speed and the directions? Other component of basketball that we need to look at, because it's very leg dominant, is the ability to jump and cut with the sport in that 2.8 to 3.1 miles, every 2 to 6 seconds, changing speed with jumps, with change in gameplay, change in heart rate, change in breathing patterns. If we can prep the athlete in this way to get ready for the demands that her competition requires, then we have a chance at preventing exercise-associated muscle cramps. If we've done all of that training and the athlete happens to get into a race or into a basketball game that's a higher intensity than they're exposed to, and a muscle cramp does happen, what's the best treatment for this? Not running out with pickle juice, not running out with a banana, not running out with salts and throwing them at the athlete, but going into, and this is the only time that you'll hear us say this, going into a static stretch is the best way to alleviate a muscle cramp once it actually happens. Why does that happen? It's influencing the nervous system. It's giving input to these sensory fibers called the GTOs that send a message up and then allows the muscle spindles to calm down, which helps to decrease the reflexive activity of that contracted muscle, which then allows it to get into a relaxed state. But ultimately, if our goal is to prevent muscle cramps that are specific to exercise, our training program has to match the intensity and the demands at which we're going to compete at. If they do not match that, then we're going to expect a muscle cramp, regardless of salts, bananas, hydration, and all of those other factors.
The hope is that you don't have to spend all your money on the pickle juice and the salt and the bananas. You just got to look at your training program. If this is the pickle juice, salt, and bananas, get it out of here.
We are here to empower you to get out of the nope, replace it with hope, and help you to reclaim your birthright of healthy and athletic.
In this video, we busted some myths, updated your education, showed you some of our favorite movements, external loading, but at best, that's only half the equation. The other half is internal load, how we adapt to it. We don't just specialize in movement, but how we actually adapt to it to become lifelong athletes.
We can't wait to coach you if you're interested, so head over to hopenotnope.org and we'll see you there.